Steph Curry was riding the bike in the fourth quarter because he didn't get any run in the final stanza. That's how comfortable a win it was from the Golden State Warriors. Defensive dominance again from the Dubs. It is starting to feel a lot like 21-22. All the correlations coming up on today's Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen of every day. A lot of ways you could check out the show, free and available wherever you get your audio podcast. And if you're watching us right now on YouTube, it is free and takes half a second to show us, hey, thanks for staying up late on a Friday night to give out some content. But what else would we do after the Golden State Warriors take down the Memphis Grizzlies 123-118, improved to 10-2 on the season and 2-0 in the NBA Cup? This is Locked On Warriors, and we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers, place a $5 bet. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win that $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Introductions. My name is Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. That is the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Also cover the team for CBS News Bay Area, which is KPIX. My partner at 95.7 The Game from time to time was Matt Kolsky, and we join to talk about another Golden State Warriors win. On today's show, little rundown for you all. The defensive Dubs. There you are, Kolsky. The defensive Dubs. Warriors once again look so good defensively, and why the formula defense and Steph Curry added together reminds Steve Kerr a little bit of 2022. Fresh legs, the Warriors defense, and specifically the schemes that Jerry Stackhouse has been scheming up, the blitzes, seemingly. It requires fresh legs. We're getting into that. Podz, the artist. Why is he an artist? I'll tell you why he's an artist. And Lindy Waters injured in the game. But we start with the defensive Dubs, who hold the Memphis Grizzlies to 75 after three quarters, may have been 79. Regardless of what it was the Grizzlies' lowest total of the season. And we've seen that stat quite a bit. I believe it was the same with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Warriors are for real, man. They get in your face. They are all over the place. They are closing out. They are staying in front of their man, and when they need help side defense, they have it there.
Just continuing to be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and by the way, doing it with no real defensive center. Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney have done an admirable job, but they're both 6'9". Tonight they were out there playing against Jaren Jackson, who's I think they list him at 6'10", but I don't believe it. And Zach Edey, who's listed 7'4", and actually seems bigger than that. What they've done is unreal. And tonight was another night. I mean, look, the finals 123-118 because the Grizzlies were engaged in some really bizarre playing for point differential stuff down the stretch.
It's the NBA Cup, Kolsky. You can't let opportunities get away to get points, man.
Look, I'm not going to hate because that could make a difference to them, I guess. But it was weird. It was weird and bizarre to watch, and it felt like a waste of my time. All that being said, they controlled this game all night tonight. It was a little back and forth in the first quarter, but for the rest of the game, it was full Warriors control. So, again, you just keep coming out of these games with no complaints. I mean, it's a bummer Lindy Waters got hurt. It sounds like it's maybe not as bad as it looked, but overall, they're controlling night to night, controlling games with their defense. And I thought they'd be a good defensive team, but I don't think I saw this coming.
Yeah, Warriors fans getting flashbacks right now, not from outside lands, but no. Getting flashbacks of 2022. Steve Kerr said to Tim Kawakami, to me, the model is the 2022 season. We won with a similar mix to what we have now. We were good on both sides of the ball. We established the defense, finished third in the league that season. That year's team was built around Steph and the defense, and that's the formula this year too. And I mean, top 4 right now in all the NBA in defense, top 5 in offensive efficiency. They've been out rebounding teams pretty consistently. They haven't been turning the ball over. I mean, the energy, the closeouts, the talking, the constant challenges on shots, the quickness, the switchability, seemingly
You
everyone
mentioned
can
the
guard
blitz
1 through
too.
5.
The
Blitz, man.
They were not doing that nearly as aggressively last year, or even in 21-22. And their double teams have been incredibly effective this year. So to the extent that is Jerry Stackhouse's work, that's tremendous. But when it comes to coaching defense,
Fresh legs too, man.
fresh legs, no doubt. But it's also it's a motivational job as much as anything, coaching a defense. Of course, he's doing some scheme things. You mentioned the blitzes. There's a handful of things. But overall, what stands out when you watch the Warriors defense is how aggressive everybody is. Guys that we don't think of as being known for defense are out there busting butts on the defensive end of the floor. And it's one of those, it's a rolling stone gathering moss. Like when everyone starts playing that way, and when you're holding each other accountable, and when an NBA legend like Jerry Stackhouse is holding you accountable, grading your ass on every defensive possession, like these sorts of things, it becomes the culture, right? And that's what it looks like with the Warriors right now. Again, we're 12 games into the season, but they're doing everything right in terms of, I think we correctly said coming into the season, becoming a true contender was a pretty long shot for this team, but they are doing everything right to put themselves in that position.
Almost everything that we thought needed to happen before the season has happened for the Warriors to be a really good team. Step number one was Andrew Wiggins getting back to form. And he's been so good, man. He's been a part of a lot of those blitzes. It's like every pick and roll, it seems like the Warriors are going out there with 2, blitzing them, trying to get the trap. And a lot of times they are, and it's going for 2 the other way. But Andrew Wiggins has been so good. Even offensively, his awareness on some of these back cuts, he's been finishing. Shot, still a lot of room for improvement. If we could see Wiggs knocking down threes consistently, it changes the game. But that's never been really a consistent part of his game. He can keep you honest, though. Draymond knocking down threes, man. I'll give you the floor on that one. That's a game changer. It looks like this is just who he is, decent at shooting.
I think we have to say it's proof of concept at this point. It's a year plus of consistently good three-point shooting. And look, he's open. He does not shoot them. He doesn't shoot tough threes, right? He's shooting open threes in the flow of the offense. And they're shots that when he wasn't taking them in past years, a lot of times it was disrupting the offense because 3-point shots were being created for him, and he got to a point where he wasn't comfortable taking them. So whatever he's done to change his confidence level, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of shots in the gym, but also there has to be some mental work that he's done to get to the point where he is ready for those shots, and he's looked great now for a year plus. I think you got to take that as, yeah, that's who he is right now.
Oh, there's some devastated Dubs fans at the chat tonight. Apparently that spread was 6.5. I completely forgot and think about that. Warriors were up like 18 for
they were up 24 at one point.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough. That is what you call the back door if you're on the side of the Memphis Grizzlies. So
you know what though? I think this is a lesson learned for our bettors, because be careful with bigger spreads in the NBA Cup, because I saw the comments that the refs were jimmy jacking around with it, but this was not the refs. This was the Grizzlies in a game where ordinarily they would have let the clock run out. They were fouling, they were defending hard. So like they turned an 11-point win into a 5-point win in the last minute and a half. Bad luck for our gamblers.
Yeah. So entering the game, the Warriors were 4th in defensive rating, 16th last season. So that's a massive difference. One of the things, in addition to just the defense really stepping up, that Steve Kerr said he had to see this season was transition defense, right? And that's what the Grizzlies want to do. They want to get out, they want to run, they want to knock down some threes. Grizzlies in today's game, compared to the Warriors, who went 41% on 19 of 46, The Grizzlies were 17 of 42 for 16%. Do you attribute that to anything the Warriors were doing specifically on their closeouts? And I mean, early I saw Lindy Waters, fouled on one, but he was getting up in people's faces, and that length was clearly bothering Marcus Smart on some of those threes. But was it that way consistently to you, or was it just the Grizzlies missing shots and this could have been a completely different game on a different night?
Little column A, little column B, but I think you set the tone when you start forcing a team into bad threes. And again, that can snowball, especially like the Grizzlies like to shoot threes. They're not a bad three-point shooting team, but like their best player's out. Desmond Bane is just coming back from a long absence. Like they're not at their best. So I think, look, the Warriors defense is a huge part of it. But I don't think it's anything special they're doing on closeouts. I think it's just the intense defense that they're playing leads to tougher shots overall. Then you start to fall behind. Your offense isn't working. You start pressing and taking threes you probably shouldn't. I think all of that went into it for the Grizzlies tonight. And to your point, transition is a huge part of this too. They only had 13 fast break points tonight, and this is the team that runs at a faster pace than anyone in the league. And I thought in the moments where the game did get going really fast, it favored the Warriors. They kind of beat the Grizzlies at their own game for a lot of the second and third quarter. I don't want to just keep shaking my head and sounding amazed, but the consistency of the Warriors' performance, and I think that plays into the depth and the fresh legs part too, right? Like, I still love the way he's playing right now. I thought he did a lot of good things, but Jonathan Kuminga, bad shooting night. Andrew Wiggins, bad shooting night. And you know what? No big deal. Lindy Waters hits a few. Trace Jackson Davis scores a little more than he has been. Buddy Hield lights it up again. Like, there's so many guys who can do it that somebody's going to score on any given night. So if they bring this defense with them everywhere they go this year, they're going to be in really good shape.
All right. Is this deja vu from 2022? We're getting into it coming up on Locked On Dubs. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. So I kind of mentioned earlier that Steve Kerr said this had a lot of underlying tones to 2022 and what they could do. Steph Curry leading the way, a cast of characters that were able to step up in that season. And we've seen it with guys like, then it was Otto Porter, it was Bielitsa, it was, Damian Lee. There were a bunch of different players that had their moments. But this year it's been Hield consistently. It's been Kyle Anderson quietly. And when DeAnthony Melton's been healthy, he's looked real good. That is a point of concern, I guess, in any season is injuries. Maybe not as much at the shooting guard position currently because the Warriors are so deep, but they did lose two with knee injuries in the last 48 hours. DeAnthony Melton, a sprained ACL. Lindy Waters, a hyperextended knee going down today. Before we get into anything else, just your thoughts on that. Two knee injuries in 48 hours. It shows you how fickle this game can be. Fortunately, the Warriors still in good position, but man, it can change in a hurry now. It's a battle of attrition out there.
They're deep enough that the only injuries that really matter would be Steph and Draymond for an extended period of time, but obviously they add up, and And Melton is a guy that is a real useful tool for Steve Kerr. That really opens up a lot of different things he can do because Melton's dynamic both directions. He can be your point guard. He can defend your 2 or even a 3. I really like that guy. I do want to quickly just, I don't want to overstate it, but I think Steve Kerr is remembering the 21-22 team extremely fondly. Because,
they all said it was the best. I mean, they all were like, this one was special.
Hold on. I'm not saying they shouldn't remember the season fondly, but this team, I think, is quite honestly clearly better. Clearly. I mean, first of all, in the top 12 that actually played on that team, Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala played about 30 games apiece, so they were not super involved.
And Iggy didn't do anything come playoff time aside from coach on the bench.
Yeah, and I mean, Juan was a nice story, and Moody and Kuminga were on that team, but those guys weren't factors really down the stretch or in the playoffs either. Like
same Peyton, same Loon. Now that they're looking healthy,
Exactly. I think the Jonathan Kuminga you have now is better than Otto Porter was in 21-22 to me.
Now, can I give you the counterpoint to that? The only difference would be the Warriors right now, they do need a consistent second scorer off the dribble, someone who can keep you honest there. And that team had Jordan Poole, man.
They had Jordan Poole.
Defenses. This team doesn't have that if it's not Jonathan Kuminga.
That's true in terms of breaking someone down off the dribble, but in terms of scoring, isn't Buddy Hield giving you pretty much what Jordan Poole did generally? So I don't know.
I would say more what Klay did that year, and that's where if you're comparing apples to apples, but that doesn't work in the NBA, right? It's always different.
It's hard. Look, and I'm not trying to denigrate the 2021-22 team, but I do think like there's more here this year, which is why I keep going all the way back to the first title team. That just had. You know what else it is? It's the additions of Barbosa and Spates and the way those just kind of made everything come together in a weird way. Feels a lot like what they did with Melton and Anderson and Hield this offseason. Just like it's not about picking the best guys in the world. It's about picking the right guys. And boy, have they done that. And look, Steve Kerr, he's basically pitching a no-hitter so far this season in terms of results. So, I or others may have quibbles with specifics, but every button he's pressing is coming up the right way.
Jonathan Kuminga, someone that you are a big-time fan of, and he's shown flashes this year, especially coming off the bench. I think before this game, coming off the bench, he was averaging 17.5 points per game, 18 minutes today, 3 of 13 from the floor, 0 of 4 from deep, 4 rebounds, ended up fouling 5 times, was pretty careless with his handles from time to time. I mean, if Jonathan Kuminga, and this has nothing to do with the player that he can be, it has nothing to do with the player that he is right now. Like, he is in an unfortunate situation because Kuminga's already a good basketball player. The issue is he's going to be commanding a lot of money. The Warriors do have money dispersed at the top to 3 guys specifically in Wiggins, Draymond, and Curry moving forward. They'd love some financial flexibility, you would think, moving forward, not tying yourself down to someone if he is not the guy. And Kuminga's at a weird age to where it's like still so much room for improvement, but we're seeing the same issues over and over. And consistency is probably the most important thing in the NBA, and that's just not going to cut it, the performance tonight.
I couldn't disagree more strongly.
Couldn't disagree more strongly. I love it. Let's have the discussion.
Get consistency from a 22-year-old who's short on basketball experience without giving him consistent playing time. So you can throw the desire for consistency right out the window if this is how you're going to utilize him, and that seems to be the choice. So if there's a lack of consistency, like point the finger at the minutes to me. Now, he's at an age and development point where, like, you're going to get a night like this, but why is his 3 for 13 worse than Wiggins' 5 for 15? I don't understand that. Andrew Wiggins is 30 years old. He's been an all-star in this league, and the expectations for him are for some reason lower than for Jonathan Kuminga. This is the stuff that doesn't make sense to me. And by the way, like, I am a Kuminga fan, and I think I come off as like more of a fan than I am, because what I really am is someone who sees a ton of potential and someone who recognizes that if it's not this guy, tomorrow looks very grim for the Warriors. And to your point about financial flexibility, anything they would do with or without Kuminga, they're going to be screwed from a flexibility standpoint.
What is tomorrow, though? Because they have the present till what, 2028? I mean, granted, it's going to get older.
So tomorrow is before 2028. In all likelihood. I mean, it's possible Steph is still playing like this in 27, but I wouldn't bet my money on it. And here's my theory on the sort of franchise timeline extension thing. Now, don't misunderstand me. I would have certainly strongly considered moving Kuminga for Markkanen if I thought it was a deal that put me as a title favorite. I would still move Kuminga if I thought there was a deal to make the Warriors a title favorite. But I would point out any deal like that would destroy the financial flexibility just as much as Kuminga does. And your window for success would shorten considerably, right? I mean, if Kuminga's part of for instance, a Jimmy Butler deal, you're still screwed financially. And if you don't win a title in the next 2 years, like, it's going to be a grim decade after that. My general argument, and nobody will ever admit this, but my general argument is that every fan who screams at the front office for not trading Kuminga for a magic trade that wins you a championship today is failing to consider that, like, even the best trade gives you maybe a 25% chance at a title. And if it actually comes at the cost of 10 years of being terrible, you don't actually want that. You say you want it because we love to talk about championships being the most important thing. But as a fan, the 10 years of sucking hurts way more than the championship feels good. It's just a fact, especially after you've won 4 championships in the last 7 years. So I just think it's a much tougher decision than people like to suggest. And as far as Kuminga right now, like, I don't think you can demand the sort of development trajectory from him that a player on the Charlotte Hornets would get when he doesn't get the opportunity to learn from his mistakes on the floor. And I would also say, like, you're talking about his handle. He had 1 turnover in 18 minutes, and they asked him to bring the ball up the floor a lot. So not bad. You know, what he did do tonight is shoot the ball terribly, but he's not the only one.
No, he's not. But that's the thing about the Warriors. They have a secret recipe right now to winning games. Pretty sure they're undefeated. 99.9% sure they're undefeated when they hit this recipe. It's over 30 assists. Check. They go 33 tonight, and it's over 23s. They only go with 19. And maybe they would have covered had they had anyways.
That 30 assist mark has been a key for years, right? The 30 assists, it's been
the secret sauce, man.
That is
put it on a Mondo burger.
Target. That's what it is.
From Ed. Yeah,
every night Steve Kerr wants 30 assists, and when they get it, they are the best team in basketball. Full stop.
Full stop. Best team in basketball. Podz the artist, one of the most entertaining men in basketball in a weird way. If you like watching basketball from the perspective of myself, we're debating and discussing coming up on Locked On Warriors. FanDuel time. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL. You can do it all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. The Warriors were leading for almost this entire thing, and the spread was 6.5 points. The Warriors do not cover that spread.
Oh, no.
From Memphis is the Warriors win by 5 and a 6.5 point spread. But hey, you can get it back, and you can do it on FanDuel.com. Hawaii plays late. All right, so I got to get into this Brandon Podziemski play, man. You know myself as a big-time Podz fan, although for whatever reason, he has not been loving that mid-range game that he talked about in the offseason that he developed and that he wanted to add to the bag. It's not been in his bag for the most
Chuck, let's be honest. So far this year, Podz hasn't loved anything leaving his hands. It has been miserably bad shooting the basketball for him. But what's special about that guy is he still finds a way to do stuff pretty much every time he's out there that feels like he's helping you.
Always finds a way. And today he finds a way to shoot at 50% from the floor, 7 rebounds, all of them defensive, 5 assists, a steal. But one of those 5 assists, it was the best TV I have seen since season 1 of Westworld. And I know it fell off, after Dolores went down, the man with the black hat, you get it.
We got to have a television conversation somewhere else because there's been a lot of better TV than Westworld since Westworld, but I'll let you have that.
Season 1 was good, man. Season 1 was good. The rest of the show. It was beautiful. You know what pass I'm talking about. It was behind the back. He hits, if you haven't seen it, just YouTube it right now. Behind the back, in stride, falling into someone's lap. All he needed to do was, grab some popcorn out of the dude's bag and would have completed it. But up ahead to Kuminga, who slams it home. I win with Podz. You win with Kuminga. Happy campers, man. That was sick.
That was pure Locked On Warriors content right there is what that was. Really, really delivering for the podcast. Sure, it was lucky, but that's one of those, like if Brandon Podziemski ever has a career mixtape, that's in it. Because, man, behind the back, lefty, 2/3 of the court length, right in stride for Kuminga, who's flying towards the basket. It's been that kind of year for the Warriors. It's been the kind of year where a guy's falling out of bounds and manages to throw the best pass of the season as he's doing it.
Yeah, it was it's the theme of the year, man. It's the theme of the year, man. They're hitting them in stride. They're always making the right pass. Even when they're trying not to. And a lot of those passes are finding Buddy Hield, man. We haven't talked about him yet. Goes 30 minutes today. 7 of 15, 4 of 8 from deep, 18 points. He just picks it up late, and he's kind of, if Steph Curry's the night, he's the closer. Buddy Hield's the setup man, right? He's coming in the 7th and 8th and setting up Gagne. Not Gagne. We'll go with Duvall.
That was a terrible faux pas, Chuck. Yeah, that was you could have gone Sergio Romo, Brian Wilson. You had a lot of good Rob Nen if you want to go Rod Beck for God's sakes. But let's pretend that never happened.
Screw you, Gagne.
That's a great call. I would never have come up with that analogy, but I actually love it. He's the Javi Lopez of the Golden State Warriors, the Jeremy Affeldt, if you will.
Rob Nen?
Yeah, Nen would have been a great closer to choose, but you made the mistake you made, and there's no going back on that. I promise Buddy Hield, over the course of the season, is not going to shoot 47% from three-point range. But I also don't think he's going to stop being an incredible fit for what the Warriors are doing, right? Maybe he just has a few... Is that the Mark Medina? I hope that's the Mark Medina.
He says Westworld sucks. It does. It absolutely does. I should have said Breaking Bad season 5. All right, better. That would have been. Pass was
You've been right on the verge of some excellent analogies today, Chuck, and just stepped wide at the last moment.
I'm not on my A game, man. I'm not on my A game. It happens from time to time. I don't have enough room in this basement.
We were all disrupted by the end of the game where mysteriously Draymond was ejected and the Grizzlies closed the gap to 5 points. So
what the hell happened there? I mean, the end of the game tonight, they get a cutaway. Steph Curry's on a bike. I'm like, is he nursing a hamstring? No, he just needed a sweat, man.
Yeah, you got to get a sweat when you only play 26 minutes. But the Draymond thing, the announcers didn't know it. Mike Breen had no idea what was going on. They thought Steve Kerr got I think Steve Kerr thought Steve Kerr got a technical. And no one ever explained to me. I assume there's a post-game soundbite on this, but it was a very silly last few minutes of the basketball game. Overall, though, just another good night for the Warriors, and I expect another one coming up on, what is it, Monday is the next one, or is it Tuesday?
It's Monday, and that's what the Warriors are doing, man. They're having good nights. They're stacking these things together, and they are going into a stretch where they have the Clippers 6-7 on the season, but one of those 6 wins was one of the Warriors' 2 losses. That's in LA. Then it's Hawks, it's Pelicans, it's Spurs, it's Nets. It's winnable games. This is feeling a lot like 21-22, man, where the Warriors started off 18-2. No one really believed, came back down to earth. An injury to Steph Curry right before the playoffs allows him to get that, that needed rest, that refuel, that recharge. And right now he's getting his recharge sitting the entire fourth quarter because he's got a team full of dudes that are taking care of business. Taking care of business.
Again, not to argue with the head coach, but that sounds more like 2014-15 to me, and it really helps. Being able to take those quarters off really helps.
Good vibes only, Kolsky. Oh, God. That's how I'm going to finish it, getting my co-host name wrong. Matt Kolsky, Chuck Walter with you. This is Locked On Warriors, your Golden State Dubs, 10-2 on the season. We will see you for post-game on Monday. Be sure to give us that 5-star review if you stuck around this long. Also, thumbs up on YouTube. We appreciate it. Peace.
Bye-bye.